Thousands of abortion opponents descended on Washington, D.C. for the annual March for Life on Friday, the first time since achieving its foundational objective, persuading the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade. Every year since the landmark 1973 decision, anti-abortion activists have come to the nation's capital to march, plead and pray for a post-Roe America where abortion wasn't just banned but was unthinkable. A half-century later, they gathered again on the National Mall in Washington, this time to celebrate movement's greatest victory. But they also came with a new mission to fighting the battles now playing out in their states. While the march began as a response to Roe, we don't end as a response to Roe being overturned, Jean Mancini, the president of the March for Life Education and Defense Fund, told a jubilant crowd. Why? Because we're not yet done. Since Roe fell, movement leaders have urged Republicans to use their new House majority to pass federal restrictions on abortion, while they press for new bans and restraints at the state level. On Friday, they warned activists against complacency, with one speaker acknowledging that the decision had ushered in challenging times of unrest and new threats to human life as a reinvigorated reproductive rights movement pushes back. This is not the end of our journey, the Mississippi Attorney General, Lynn Fitch, whose office brought the Supreme Court case, Dobbs v. Mississippi, that overturned Roe, said from the stage before the march. It is our charge today, in this new Dobbs era, to channel that same determination and hope and prayer that has led you to these streets for 50 years. From the White House, Joe Biden marked the occasion with a vow to protect abortion access, and a proclamation recognizing the 50th anniversary of the Roe v. Wade decision, which falls on Sunday, January 22. Never before has the court taken away a right so fundamental to Americans, Biden said in the statement. In doing so, it put the health and lives of women across this nation at risk. He called on Congress to codify abortion rights and pledged to continue to use his limited executive authority to protect access wherever possible. In the 7 months since the Supreme Court ended the federal protections guaranteed by Roe, abortion access in America has become a patchwork of state-by-state policies. More than a dozen states have enacted sweeping bans on abortion, while several more aim to take similar actions when state legislatures reconvene this year. Pending legal challenges have added to the uncertainty. Their efforts to advance new measures at the state level have been met with fierce opposition from abortion rights advocates. Initiatives have sprung up to help women seeking abortions travel to states where it remains legal or to access abortion pills. At the ballot box, abortion opponents have suffered a string of significant and unexpected defeats, including in conservative states like Kansas and Kentucky, while several Republican candidates who supported abortion bans without exceptions lost high-profile races in the 2022 midterm elections. But at Friday's march, the mood was undeniably joyful. Busloads of high school students, a hallmark of the event, carried signs proclaiming, "I am the post-Roe generation." They marched alongside seasoned activists exulting in a victory that had once seemed unimaginable. "We did it," the Rev. Lolita Smith said, recounting her exuberance when the Dobbs decision was handed down. "But in doing so, we brought more battles to the forefront because now every state has a right to decide what their position is going to be." Activists from states where abortion remains legal said they were working toward a more complicated goal that required changing not only the laws, but hearts and minds, too. If anything, the pro-life movement is more important than ever before because now it's up to the states, said Katie, a 19-year-old college student from Massachusetts who preferred not to give her last name. The theme of this year's gathering was Next Steps, marching forward into a post-Roe America, a recognition that the fight to end abortion in America has moved to Congress and all 50 state legislatures. To further underscore the shift, the march charted a slightly different course. Instead of finishing at the foot of the Supreme Court, they concluded at a spot located between the court building and the U.S. Capitol. At the rally, the speakers presented a united front, committed to the march's overarching vision to end abortion. But the post-Roe landscape has exposed fault lines in the anti-abortion movement as Republicans, elected officials, and activists press ahead with varying demands, tactics, and approaches. What is the most ambitious we can be? Marjorie Dannenfelser, the president of Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, a leading anti-abortion group, told reporters this week. Dannenfelser said she would like to see Congress enact a federal minimum standard that would ban abortions after a certain point early in a pregnancy, though she was clear-eyed that the prospects of such action were dim as long as Democrats held the Senate and the White House. The House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy, welcomed the marchers to Washington, pledging, "You now have a Congress that is standing up for life." Addressing the crowd, Steve Scalise, the House Majority Leader, touted a pair of anti-abortion measures that passed the chamber earlier this month, among the first actions taken by the new Republican majority. "That's what difference elections make," he declared.